We want to make it about us. There's more to stories than just one person. We don't know the reasoning behind even why we do things, no matter how smart we think we are. At the end of the day, we don't know. It's easier to write someone off as a bad person to make ourselves feel better about the pain that they put us through. It's not okay to turn that person into someone that they weren't. It's okay to wish that things were different because damn, you know, no one really likes taking a detour in life. There were times I didn't want to be here. Don't leave this world willingly. Don't leave this world until it takes you out. It's okay to be disappointed in people. It's okay to get angry. It's okay to cry. I just wanted to come on here because I have something that I need to say so that when I watch these videos again, I can be reminded. This is like a realization. Come here, Cap. Ven aquí, niña. Mi amor. Okay. This is like a revelation that I have. I've had this, it's not like a revelation, but just like a fact about humans that I think of periodically and I tend to forget at the most important times. This is all my viewpoint, my opinions. This is not to say that any of it is factual or even the correct way of thinking. It's just the way that I like to think about things to make my life easier. I feel as though people have a tendency to almost like a need to box people into certain categories and to do that almost as a way to protect themselves. It's kind of almost like an all or nothing type thing. Like someone can't hurt me and be a good person. Someone can't do bad things and be a good person. And that's something that I kind of think about a lot because, you know, sometimes I do things that disappoint me. Sometimes I don't lead with kindness, or sometimes I get angry with people who have hurt me before. And it upsets me because I know that's not the right thing to do. That's not what a good person would do. But that doesn't make me a bad person, and all of the other stuff that I do that's good, just because I do that doesn't mean that I'm a good person. It's kind of like a little bit of a conundrum. It's easy when you're looking from the outside into a pile of shit that's not yours to look at it and be like, yeah, that person did something bad, but that doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. What even is good? What even is bad? The classifications are so wobbly. I don't think anything can be entirely good or entirely bad. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in this world because we have free will and we have access to a way of living that is inherently bad. ¿Qué pasó, güey? Ven aquí. What I'm trying to express here is that no one is entirely bad and no one is entirely good. We don't know. We don't know the reasoning behind even why we do things, no matter how smart we think we are, no matter how emotionally intelligent we think we are. At the end of the day, we don't know. We do things because we're prompted to do them for whatever reasoning, but that reasoning we will never know 100%. It's easy to look onto someone else's pile of shit and be like, yeah, what that person did to that person sucked, but that doesn't inherently make them a bad person. But then when the tables are turned and we're the one getting shit thrown at us, it's easy to look at that person and be like, why would they do that? That was a bad thing to do. That was objectively the wrong way to go about things. The rationale just doesn't exist there. And this is something that I've always struggled with. I've always really struggled understanding things and thinking processes that aren't rational, or that don't seem to follow logic or some sort of logic. They've always baffled me because doing the right thing, it's always obvious, you know? We don't always do it, but that doesn't mean the right choice is not obvious. I'm not sure. I've just always, I always thought that I just had a problem with stupidity or stupid people, but I see now that that's a very jaded and ignorant way to think about things. The reason I'm talking about this now is because I'm probably gonna add this to the end of a video that I made earlier to because I do want to post that video, but I realized I said some things that I didn't agree with. I was not in a good headspace, and I was kind of looking at things from definitely not the best perspective. I was talking to my friend, the one that I was talking about earlier, if I post whatever. Yeah. I've always thought of him as a really good person, how do I verbalize this? When I'm trying to describe him to someone, I often say, oh, you know, he's definitely not the type of person you want to be in a relationship with, but he's a damn good friend. When I was talking to my mom about that, I was thinking, and I was like, well, how can I say that for one person just because he hasn't directly hurt me, but sometimes feel differently when it comes to someone who has hurt me directly? The reasoning behind it is obvious. I mean, it's obvious. It's easier to write someone off as a bad person to make ourselves feel better about the pain that they put us through. But when I was on the phone with him, we were talking about, like, you know, some stuff, and then we kind of were talking about how recently it's hard to want to be here. It's hard to want to exist on this planet. It's very hard, and it's a hard thing to do, and it's a hard thing to be strong. It's just a hard thing. And when he told me he was going through that, I was like, the fuck, bro? Like, you can't let life get you to that spot. You can't imagine what that would do to the people who care about you. And then I told him about my struggles with that a little bit. It was very brief, but I told him a little bit about, my struggles with that in the past, and how, like, there were times I didn't want to be here. Like, this was the last place I wanted to be. Sorry. Jesus Christ, why do I always do this? Yeah, and I was like, and obviously that's something I would never do. You know, I have a little brother who I love dearly, and parents and family, and I have so many people that love me that I would be letting down, and I would be exchanging my pain for theirs, and it's an extremely selfish anyways. Well, my point with that is, when I was talking to him, is I was like, what if I had done that? Like, how would that have affected you? How would that make you feel? And he was like, oh fuck, like, that would be, like, literally the worst thing in the world to deal with. And I was like, the same goes for you. And anyways, my point in even bringing up that conversation is that when we got done with this conversation, I texted him to let him know, you know, he's not alone. And I was like, you know, you're a good person and you have a good heart, but sometimes life throws some detours your way so you can learn lessons you wouldn't learn otherwise. And, you know, don't leave this world willingly. Don't leave this world until it takes you out. You know, people like us are put here for a reason. By people like us, I mean everyone. You know, everyone. And when I was, like, reading that text, I was like, I'm sending it to him, but reading that message, I was like, wow, like, I feel this way about me, I feel this way about him, I feel this way about everyone in this world. Just because someone does bad things and because someone hurts someone doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't mean they have a bad heart. Other people's actions don't have anything to do with us. Sometimes, yes, they do. Obviously, actions have reactions, but ultimately, foundationally, when actions are coming from within, they don't have to do with us. They don't have to do with us. That's easy to forget when you go through something with someone where they really hurt you, or they really let you down, or, you know, you're disappointed because there was a version of them that you wanted them to be that they just weren't ready to be yet. It's easy to look at that and find malice or find anger in that and be like, well, if they were just a good person, if they could just be better. But that is such a skewed line of thinking. That's not, and I've always known this. I've known this from the beginning of time, but I've always had trouble with dealing with it. I'm such a sensitive person, and I take things to heart, and I take things personally, because in my mind, I'm like, if I could be the best version of me, and I could be the nicest possible person, and I can do this or do that, then it'll be impossible for someone not to love me. It'll be impossible for someone not to treat me right. Then when I was thinking about that, I was thinking back to my childhood, and you know, my dad, my, like, biological father, things were not good with him for a long time. He did, oh baby, he did a lot of really bad things, and he hurt the people that I loved most, including myself. When I was in it, I thought he was a scary person, but I never thought that was him. Like, I never thought that those actions were him. I thought that he was being possessed by some sort of demon or something, but like, something in me knew it's not about me. I knew entirely, like, none of this is about me. I think that's why, oh, look at this little girl. Oh, you're such a mutt. You're such mutt. Mutt. I love you, mutt. I always knew. I always knew, like, stop. I think that is why, despite everything that I've been through in my life, which is objectively, you know, not a lot compared to a lot of people out there in the world, but a lot compared to others, it's like, ow, despite everything that I've been through and all of the ways that I've been hurt or let down, I never let that, I tried my best to never let that impact the way that I love people. And I'm very grateful, because if it weren't for this whole theory, this whole way of thinking, I don't think that would be the case, because I've come across so many people who let people who hurt them change who they were or build walls around themselves. They let people who hurt them think that that's just a bad person and that bad people are out there, so you have to protect yourself from that. Or I don't know exactly how to verbalize it, but none of it has to do with you. None of it has to do with you. Someone else's pain forces them to do things. Well, what am I trying to say here? This is a hard thing to get out, and it's a hard thing to express because it's kind of complicated, and sometimes I'm not the best at explaining things, but the way that someone treats you and someone's actions, it's completely a reflection of them. It's completely a reflection of them. By a reflection of them, I don't mean in the sense that it's a reflection of whether they are a good person or whether they are a bad person, but it is a reflection of where they're at internally, where they're at with themselves, and where they are at with life. It's a tough thing to accept because obviously, each of our worlds is entirely centered around us. My world is centered around me. I have always been the main character in my story, and there's people who are right alongside with me sometimes, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I am always the main character in my story, just like you are always going to be the main character in your story. So we want to make it about us. But we forget there's more to stories than just one person. You don't read a book and the entire time it's about one person. I mean, sometimes, I guess autobiographies, but even then, no. There's plenty of other people in those stories. There's plenty of other people who are used to explain more about that person. It's easy to look at the things that people do to us. It's easy to look at those things in a very egocentric way, in a way that is entirely based around you, when that's kind of that's just not the way to look at things. That's not the way to look at things, because ultimately it's not about you, because at that point that story is not yours, that story is theirs. They are their own main character and they are going through their own set of problems, just like you have your set of problems, just like I have my set of problems. We're all going through things, you know. Like, I mean, clearly if you're watching this video, you probably have you have something you're mulling over. You have something that you're thinking about. You have something about yourself that you might want to better. So you know that people have problems. All of us, the best of us, the worst of us, all of us has problems. And while they might all look different and your problem might seem like nothing to another person and vice versa, all of us have a set of problems that are equally as important to us. We forget that in life. And we forget that sometimes people are not bad people, they just do bad things because the world, the universe, God, whoever has given them a detour in life, because there's a lesson that they need to learn that they wouldn't learn otherwise. You know, just like with my dad, his detours were not about me. As much as I wanted to make them about me, or as much as I tried, it just never worked out. It never made sense because those detours were not about me. I was just a side effect. I was just someone hit by the shrapnel. And as much as that sucks, all of that's important because it leads us exactly to where we're supposed to be, and it helps develop us, you know? Everyone has to have problems. No life can be perfect, so sometimes some shrapnel has to come at you, and sometimes you have to take some detours. And it sucks because it's like, who wants to be hit by shrapnel? Who wants to encounter a detour? But at the end of the day, who really wants to sit there and self-reflect and think about the ways that they need to grow? I mean, some people are just not capable of doing that. Some people, their level of intelligence or understanding is not there yet in that specific area. I'm not saying that there's people who are up here and people who are down here. I think that everyone is everywhere. I don't think that the scale is the way that we think it is. I think some people are extremely intelligent in certain areas and extremely unintelligent. And that's also something that I've had to learn and grow on. That was one area where I think I was maybe not the best person because I used to kind of have trouble seeing things from the perspective of people who thought in ways that I did not think made sense, or I did not think was rational, or I thought was irrational, or people who thought in ways that just seemed stupid to me. Like, in my mind, it's like, it's so obvious. How can you not see it? Like, how can you not act accordingly? Like, mean people, they've never made sense to me because kindness has just always made the most sense to me. Kindness always made all of the sense, and meanness always made none of the sense. Yet I've been a mean person plenty of times. I've been a mean person, and I've said words that I shouldn't have said, and I've done things that I shouldn't have done when I could have taken the higher path. So who am I to judge? Like, who am I to judge someone else just because the path that they took was a little different? Everyone has their own path. Everyone has their own set of problems, and that set of problems that they're given is going to also give them a corresponding set of knowledge, so long as they learn it, so long as they get through. Like I said, some people have bigger problems. Sometimes it takes longer for people to get to that set of knowledge that also comes with the problems. And sometimes, unfortunately, people never get there. They never get there. And it's sad, but I'd like to think that they get there eventually, in another life, in another world. Everyone has a reason for doing things, and most of the time that reason is not about us. Let's go back to what I'm trying to say here. I mean, I think I've made my point. I think you get the gist. Like, I think you get what I'm saying. I'm saying that no one is perfect. You're not perfect, I'm not perfect, and the person that you're upset with is not perfect. No one is perfect, and everyone has their own set of problems, and sometimes we need to get the heck out of our heads and stop thinking about ourselves and stop making everything about us and realize, you know, you're not alone in the issues that you're having. You're not alone in your problems. Everyone else out there is facing their own set of problems. They have their own demons that they're battling. They have their own wounds that they're trying to heal. And sometimes in the process of doing those things, we get hurt. And 99.9% of the time, it's not about us. It's just about them trying to get through. It's just about them trying to get to where they need to be, them trying to learn the lessons. And I know you're probably thinking, oh my god, my boyfriend who cheated on me with a million different girls and had sex with my mom or whatever, you know, whatever that terrible guy did they're thinking of right now. I know you're wondering and you're thinking, well, he's not learning his lesson by doing that. He's not learning his lesson. Girl, I know. I've been there. There are people out there who hurt us in the most profound ways possible, and their reasoning for things probably you will never understand. But that is healing for them. As crappy as it sounds, and as terrible that felt for you, and as horrendous as those outcomes may have been for you, those things all happened for a reason, and that person did all of those things for a reason. Sometimes, in order to get to the part of life where they learn that lesson, they have to dig themselves into the biggest hole you have ever seen. And sometimes people dig that hole a little too deep and they don't learn on this plane. But that's okay. That's okay. That's not a you problem. That's not a me problem. Ultimately, I think there are no problems because I believe in fate, and I believe that whatever powers out there is orchestrating things perfectly. You know, as crappy as it sounds, all of the things that you could go through, it's easy for me to say this right now when all I'm going through is some life changes that'll probably lead me to a better place, that will lead me to a better place. It's easy for me to say these things. If I was going through your set of problems or someone else's set of problems, these things might not be as easy to say. But I don't think that makes them any less true. I think that everything happens for a reason, and somehow people's detours that hit us with the shrapnel, they serve as part of our detours. They serve to teach us the lessons that we need to learn. We encounter people in this world for a reason, and even if that encounter didn't go exactly how you wanted it to go, that doesn't mean that it didn't serve its purpose. But you do have to let it serve its purpose. It's okay to be upset sometimes. It's okay to be upset with people. It's okay to be disappointed in people. It's okay to get angry. It's okay to cry. It's okay to sometimes wish that things ended up differently, but it's not okay to turn that detour into something that it wasn't. It's not okay to turn that person into someone that they weren't, just because things didn't work out how you planned. And that's a tough pill to swallow. That's a really tough pill to swallow. But like I said, we can heal on our own timeline. We can heal in our own way, and we're allowed to have our feelings. And actions always have consequences. Always, every action, good or bad, actions always have consequences, and sometimes people's actions have the consequences of hurting other people, and they have the consequences of eliciting emotions that are unfavorable. But like I said, it's okay to cry, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to scream, it's okay to wish that things were different, because damn, you know, no one really likes taking a detour in life. No one takes a detour because they like to. They take a detour because they have to, because they have no other choice. Life is trying to tell them something. You know, wake up, get up, look at what's in front of you, evaluate it, evaluate yourself, and get in line. And I feel like that's the best possible thing that life can throw at you. You're never a fully healed human. No one's perfect. Everyone's got a lot of learning to do. I've got a heck of a lot of learning to do. But at the end of the day, that detour will be for nothing if you turn it into something that it wasn't. We have to see things for what they are in order to grow from them, in order to heal from them. We have to become who we're meant to become. And even if you're stupid, I know you're not an idiot. You know who you need to be. You know who you need to become. You just have to open your eyes, and a lot of us don't like to open our eyes. I mean, I have -5 vision in both eyes. Even when my eyes are open, I can't see, but that doesn't mean I'm blind, you know? I know what I need to do. I know who I need to be. I know who I'm not proud of me being, and I know who I would be proud of me being. And it takes time to get there, but you have to choose to get there. Eventually, you just have to do it. And if you're watching this video, you're probably not a 3-year-old anymore. Your mommy and your daddy aren't gonna hold your hand through it, because the older you get, I think the less people know you, the less they understand you. So the only one who can hold you accountable is you. You can't rely on your mom or your dad or your brother or your husband or your wife or your boyfriend, your girlfriend. You can't rely on any of them to push you to go where you need to be, because you're the only one who can do that. You are the only one, I promise. You will not listen to anyone else but you. And you have to choose to listen at one point or another. But do it soon. You never know how long you'll be on this planet for. The last thing you want to do is pass with regrets. I mean, regrets are subjective. I personally am of the opinion that if you tried, you did your best, you tried your best to be your best, given the capacity that you had, and you really pushed yourself, and you really brought yourself out of your comfort zone to try to bring yourself to where you know you need to be, how can you have regrets? How can you have regrets if you try to be the best version of you? I'd like to think I'm a better version of myself than who I was yesterday or the day before, but I can still say with confidence that in every step of my life, or overall in every season of my life, I tried my best to be my best. And I don't think I regret anything at all, because I did try my best. And I always tried to lead with love, and I always tried to lead with kindness. I always tried to show up when showing up was important for me and for other people. And sometimes our capacity is not that high. And sometimes the way we showed up yesterday is not the way that we showed up today. Sometimes today we're capable of showing up this much at 100% trying, and then yesterday maybe we were capable of showing up this much everything's subjective and everything changes. I came on here because this meant something to me, and I don't know exactly what I'm even trying to say or if it even makes sense, but I do know that for some reason this means a lot to me. Maybe this is why I've been able to get through all of the things that I've gotten through, because all of these things that have happened in my life, I've tried not to think of them as things that were done to me, but things that were done for me. As painful as they were, as traumatizing as they were, as sad as they were, I'm still here, you know? Despite everything, I'm still here. By that I mean me, like actually me. I can say with confidence that I literally, from the moment that I became conscious, I have always been this way. Like, I've never changed. Like, I've always been me. I would always say that as a kid, you know, I'm free to be me. And I would always say that to everyone, like my parents. Like, you're free to be you. I'm free to be me. I would also always say, work like you play and play like you work. I don't know what I meant by that. I think I meant by that, do your best, no matter what. No matter if you're playing, no matter if you're working, just do your best, be your best. Be free to be you. And I think I've really lived up to that. And I think I'm proud of it. Maybe later I will realize, ooh, maybe that's not something to be proud of, but I don't think I've changed. I've gone through a million different forms of heartbreak, but despite all of that, I still give my heart to people every day, knowing full well that they might break it, and that they probably will, because everyone lets you down in life at one point or another. But despite all of the heartbreak that I've encountered and all of the unfavorable situations, I've always tried to stay true to who I am, and I've always tried to be me. And I think that's a really impressive thing to do. It's really impressive to stay true to what you know is right, even when the world tries to show you all that's wrong. I think it's a brave thing, and I think it's a really hard thing to do most of the time. And that's why I think this message is so important to me and so important that I share with you, is that it's hard to stay true to that, and it's hard to stay true to who we want to be, and it's hard to stay true to ourselves, and it's hard to be the best version of ourselves in spite of everything else that's falling apart around us when we don't see people for what they are, which is human. We were put here on this planet with free will, and it's a blessing and a curse. For some reason, we were given the miracle of being able to experience this life. Craziest life. We were put here on this rock to exist for the shortest period of time, an infinitesimally small period of time. The puniness of human existence is so minuscule and tiny that most of us will never even be able to comprehend or fathom it, let alone the existence of an individual life. We are here for such a tiny amount of time, and because we are so tiny, it has the miracle of feeling like a lifetime. You're only here for so long, you know? Don't deny yourself the things that you deserve because you can't see things for what they are. People aren't out to get you. Most of the time, they're out to get themselves. And they will learn one day. And if they don't, it doesn't matter, because that's not about you. That's not your story. That's not your story. Do your best to live your story. Do your best to be you. Be free to be you. Just be true to yourself, I guess. I don't know. Not everything's about you. People have their own problems. People have their own reasons for doing things that we will never understand, and they will probably never understand. Not entirely. No one is perfect. No one is perfect. And that sucks. It sucks. It's a hard thing to grow up and become an adult and realize that no one has their crap together. No one's perfect. Your mom doesn't have the answers. Your dad doesn't have the answers. No one has the answers. You have to find them within yourself. You have to find them every day through all the things that you go through. And it's scary. It's a scary thing. Life is a scary thing, but it's beautiful, you know? We're all in it together. No one has their crap together. No one understands. So why not just do your best? Why not just do your best to be your best? Why care about anything else in the world other than just being the best version of yourself? Because life is so short. Life is so short. You're not gonna have that job in a few years, whether it's because you get a new one or because you retire. Care about the things that matter. Care about the things that are important. Don't put so much value in things and money and success, and just do your best. Just do your best and trust the rest. Just be you. Just focus on on finding you. So that way, when your time comes, you'll be a little close to having the answers that you need. It's easier said than done, I know, obviously. I'm here crying to a camera, but everything will be okay. Everything will be okay. I promise you. You just focus on the detours that life is giving you. Read in between the lines. Figure out who you're meant to be. Figure out what you're meant to do. Don't spend your life chasing the wrong things, because before too long you'll realize that those things aren't there anymore. You were chasing after things that you weren't meant to chase after. Then you're gonna be thrown a whole new set of detours. So just focus on what's important. You know it. Deep down, you know it. Talk to yourself. Talk to God. Make a video. Write in a diary. Read a book. Start here. I don't know. I don't have it together. I know that I'm me, but that's about it, you know? I don't know where my journey of life is gonna take me, and I don't know really what all of the detours that I'm encountering are meant to teach me yet, but I do know that I don't care about all of the extra stuff. It's nice to have a nice job, but I don't care. It's nice to live where you want to live, but I don't care. It's nice to have who you want to have, but I don't care, you know? I just care about doing what I'm meant to do, doing what I'm put here to do. And I don't know what that is, but I know it's something, and I think I'm close to it. So yeah, might as well end it here. I've kind of rambled myself into a hole, and I don't have much else to talk about. I've talked about the same thing over and over a million times. But I guess it must be important to me, so this might have to be its own video. Life will be okay. Just trust what is right. Well, I don't have much else to say today. My thoughts have hit the end of the line. Look at this. Life is beautiful. Don't forget. Don't let it fly by. Everything will be okay. You got this. I believe in you. Don't let the world jade you. Don't let people jade you. Just be true to who you are. Love with your whole heart, even when it's broken. Especially when it's broken. Just love the world and everything in it with everything that you've got, because we won't live here for very long, and the only thing we'll take with us is what we have up here and what we have in our soul. Look at this. I love you guys. Thanks for letting me ramble. Stay strong.
There's something beautiful about people who have tasted bitterness, but are still determined to savor the sweetness life has to offer. You can feel it in their presence. They have a sense of calm warmth, and they refuse to let life take that from them. I love these kinds of people. People who have stayed gentle in a world that tried to harden them. They've known darkness, but still offer their light to others. Their kindness is real and genuine, never a tactic or a strategy. What happened has happened, and I understand how badly you wish you could change it. But remember, dwelling on the past can take up so much of your precious mental space. It's time to gently release the grip it has on your heart. Let yourself heal from the pain. And to get over the past, you first have to accept that the past is over. No matter how many times you revisit it, analyze it, regret it, or sweat it, it's over. It can hurt you no more.